Strange New Worlds Gorn made a big mistake kidnapping these Star Trek characters. One of the most interesting and terrifying additions Star Trek, Strange New Worlds has made to Star Trek canon is elevating the Gorn from a minor hostile species to an existential threat to the Federation itself. When the Gorn were introduced in the Star Trek, the original series episode Arena, they were superiorly large and strong lizard creatures who took issue with Federation incursions into their space, but they were not yet horrifying. But Strange New Worlds has revealed that the Gorn incubate their young within the flesh of other species. By the ending of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, Captain Pike Anson Mount brought the Enterprise to the verge of war with the Gorn. Orbiting Parnassus Beta, Captain Pike ignored Starfleet orders to not engage with the Gorn to rescue stranded Starfleet crewmen on the surface. But that rescue had mixed results. Several members of the Enterprise crew and inhabitants of Parnassus Beta were kidnapped by the Gorn. While this leaves the Enterprise in a tight situation for Season 3 of Strange New Worlds, the details of the captured crewmen mean things aren't quite as dire as they seem. The Gorn kidnapped the wrong Star Trek, Strange New Worlds characters. The captured members of the Enterprise's crew are some of the most capable people in Starfleet to survive the Gorn. LT Layan Noonien-Singh Christina Chong, Dr. Joseph Mabenga Babs Ullison Moken LT. Erica Ortegas Melissa Navia and LT Sam Kirk Dan Jean-luc are all eminently capable of facing the Gorn, and if anyone can survive captivity, it's them. Whereas most of the crew of Enterprise were only introduced to the Gorn in Season 1 of Strange New Worlds and haven't seen much combat, these four are prepared. For one, LT Layan Noonien-Singh literally grew up with the Gorn. She is also a veteran of the Klingon War, along with Dr. Mabenga and LT Ortegas. That practical combat experience will give them an edge, whether in a trial-by-combat situation like Captain Kirk William Shatner faced in Arena or fending off Gorn juveniles. Dr. Mabenga, in particular, is a fierce fighter, as shown in Season 2, Episode 1, The Broken Circle. In some ways, Dr. Mabenga's fighting force breaks Star Trek's rules about doctors fighting, but his skill could very well be the deciding factor in saving the crew. Lieutenant Sam Kirk, however, is a xenoanthropologist, not a fighter. On the surface, this makes him seem like the weak link in whatever challenges the crew will face among the Gorn. Indeed, LT Kirk has thus far seemed more likely to faint than to fight. Skills that the rest of this crew has, like combat experience or previous experience with the Gorn, are not skills that LT Kirk shares. Nevertheless, there may be more to LT Kirk than meets the eye, and his captivity among the Gorn may be his chance to shine. The original series already showed LT Kirk's death in Operation Annihilate, 7 years after the events of Strange New Worlds. At least we know he'll survive. But more than just surviving, LT Kirk's skill as a xenoanthropologist may actually make him the most qualified person to connect with the Gorn. Remember, Captain Pike has led the Enterprise to the brink of war with the Gorn at Parnassus Beta. While it is by no means guaranteed, LT Kirk's skills at relating to other species may very well be the key to peace in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3. In the cold, shadowed regions of uncharted space, where the stars burn dim and time seems to stand still, the Gorn thought they were hunters. But this time, they weren't chasing prey. They were poking a hornet's nest. When the Gorn ambushed the USS Cayuga, surgically disabling its warp core and snatching several officers with their signature brutal precision, they believed they'd secured valuable leverage. Intelligence. Bargaining chips. Perhaps even nourishment. But what the Gorn didn't realize was that they had kidnapped not just Starfleet personnel, but a collection of minds and spirits forged in the fires of loss, duty, and the unbreakable bonds of chosen family. They took Layan Noonien-Singh, Dr. Mabenga, and LT Erica Ortegas. Big mistake. Layan Noonien-Singh, the survivor. If the Gorn had studied their prey a little more carefully, they might have paused before laying a claw on Layan. The name Noonien-Singh isn't just a footnote in human history. It's synonymous with conflict, resilience, and strategic brilliance. Layan, the security chief of the Enterprise, is more than just a descendant of Khan. She's a survivor of Gorn horror. Years ago, the Gorn slaughtered her family, marooning her in the darkest chapters of her life. That trauma didn't break her. It built her. Turned her into a master tactician, a fighter who knows her enemy down to the subdermal layers of their cold-blooded arrogance. She doesn't fear the Gorn, she remembers them. The moment Leyen awoke in the murky confines of their holding chambers, she didn't panic. She took inventory, counted air recyclers, memorized guard rotations, took note of the temperature fluxes in the Gorn habitat and how it affected their agility. Within hours, she was mapping out escape vectors. Days? That would be generous. The Gorn thought they'd captured prey. They accidentally locked themselves in with a predator. Dr. Joseph Mabenga, the warrior healer. To most, Dr. Joseph Mabenga is a healer, calm, rational, compassionate. But beneath the doctor's gentle hands lie the scars of war and the mind of a soldier. During the Klingon War, Mabenga was more than just a medic. He fought. He bled. He made the impossible calls, saving lives with one hand while ending threats with the other. He's a man who's had to choose between ethics and survival more times than he'd like to count. The Gorn weren't prepared for that. Mabenga may have been taken unarmed, but he doesn't need a phaser to be dangerous. He watched, listened, and learned. Every Gorn captor that inspected him became a specimen in his own mental study. Biology. Response times. Weak points. He noted every detail while tending to his fellow prisoners, using his medical skills as a cover to build alliances, soothe fears, and plan. To the Gorn, he appeared passive. But inside, Mabenga was already 2 steps ahead, crafting a strategy rooted in patience, empathy, and a ruthless edge born of battlefield necessity. They underestimated him because he chose to heal. They'll regret it when he chooses to fight. LT Erica Ortegas, the unbreakable spirit. LT Erica Ortegas, ace pilot of the Enterprise, brings a different kind of danger, unshakable spirit. Witty, sharp-tongued, and calm under pressure, Ortegas is the type of person who can fly a starship through a black hole while cracking jokes. But beneath her humor is steel. She's loyal to a fault and will go to hell and back for her crew. So when she finds herself trapped in a Gorn prison cell, her first response isn't fear. It's sarcasm. Then strategy. Ortegas doesn't need brute strength. She's the spark, the morale booster, the firebrand. In a cell block filled with desperation, it's Ortegas who keeps hope alive, who whispers courage into the ears of the terrified, who turns panic into unity. That kind of morale is infectious. It spreads like wildfire. And soon, the prisoners are no longer broken, they're ready. Ready to resist. Ready to fight. Ready to escape. And the Gorn? They don't know how to handle resistance that doesn't rely on teeth or muscle. They don't understand the power of grit, humor, or the kind of loyalty that turns scared civilians into a rebellion. The Great Escape. What the Gorn failed to grasp was that Starfleet doesn't just train explorers. It builds leaders, survivors, family. In the bowels of the Gorn stronghold, Leyen coordinated the escape, Mabenga prepared the wounded for the rigors of flight, and Ortegas rallied every captive into believing they could break free. And they did. They didn't just escape, they humiliated the Gorn. Hijacked one of their ships. Sent out a beacon detailing Gorn tactics, exposing their secrets to the Federation. Turned a moment of despair into a rallying cry. Back aboard the Enterprise, when Captain Pike received the coded transmission and warped into the heart of enemy space, he found not victims, but victors. Bloodied but unbroken. Defiant. Lesson learned. The Gorn, in their cold calculus, believed they could break the will of Starfleet by abducting a few officers. Instead, they sparked a firestorm. Because when you kidnap Leyen, you awaken a vendetta. When you capture Mabenga, you inherit a battlefield. When you imprison Ortegas, you ignite a revolution.